After 2 weeks of being lazy, doing nothing but watching a bunch of battle royales in Jurassic World Evolution 2 with my friends, we finally reached the end of the Showa scaling after one part, and now we're on the second. So in today's video, we will cover everything after the early Showa era. This would include 64 all the way up into Terror of MechaGodzilla in 1975. We will be including Zone Fighter scaling in this, as well as some Heisei scaling, with Saemons being able to be scaled to Heisei Kaiju and stuff like that. But anyways, we're gonna get straight into the video on how powerful is Showa Godzilla truly. Now, for starters, heading into Invasion of Astro Monster, we have statements that bare minimum King Ghidorah's gravity beams are able to level entire cities, which is already pretty consistent, as everybody in the early Showa era can already upscale that due to them just being able to cause earthquakes, shake the archipelago, the Earth's axis and all that. Now, King Ghidorah was also born from the explosion of a star, which would already be star level, as well as the fact that King Ghidorah destroyed the surface of Venus in about a day at most. If Venus later appeared in Zone Fighter and is shown to be a wasteland, and now destroying the surface of a planet is usually a baseline multi-continental feat, which, as I explained in the early Showa scaling, is already pretty consistent with everything from King Kong vs. Godzilla up to versus Mothra. Now, we also have the fact that King Ghidorah is a threat to the future of Earth, and that he's stated to be a planet destroyer on several occasions. So this would already grant Ghidorah planetary. And you might be saying, is this consistent at all? And yes, it would be, since we have statements from last video that Godzilla and Mothra have earth-shattering roars. So this is already some pretty, just adding on to the consistency of the planetary stuff. Now, King Ghidorah is also able to give Godzilla and Rodan a tough fight, and they don't even, and as well as he doesn't even flinch in a 3-on-1 battle against Earth's mightiest monsters, which is Mothra, Rodan, and Godzilla. And now, King Ghidorah's power is on a completely different level than previous monsters like King Kong and Mothra, with Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan eventually being able to weaken Ghidorah enough that he retreats. Now, 64 Rodan is blatantly stated to be above the 56 pair, with Rodan's wings also being able to generate shockwaves that can give Godzilla a hard time, and that Rodan's shockwaves are unrivaled. Now, Rodan also takes a point-blank shot of Godzilla's atomic breath, with Godzilla's atomic breath being equal to a single gravity beam. And King Ghidorah and Godzilla vs. Monster X is stronger than before, as well as King Ghidorah wiped out the surface of Planet X, taking out his anger on the planet after losing to Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra. So, as before with the surface of Venus, this would be at least a baseline multi-continental feat. And you can even say that he should be at least planetary from planet-destroying statements and being born from a star. Now, we also have the fact that Ghidorah walks right through a direct shot of Godzilla's atomic breath, which would put his, meaning that Ghidorah can at least tank his own gravity beam. There's also the fact that despite their advantage in Ghidorah's surprise attack, Godzilla and Rodan drove away Ghidorah on Planet X. So, Godzilla and Rodan here should already be more powerful than they were in 64, since they could both drive Ghidorah away, even while at a disadvantage, when it took them, Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra to even drive away Ghidorah. Now, while under the control of the Exilians and an Astro Monster, Godzilla, Rodan, and King Ghidorah are all able to put the Earth in danger, which is just adding on to planetary statements being more consistent. Now, first generation King Ghidorah is a more powerful invasion of Astro Monster than he was in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Dragon. While while he was weakened when he was broken from his mind control, he was still able to hold his own against Godzilla and Rodan, who are considered the strongest monster duo on the planet. Which is why, earlier, even at a disadvantage, they were able to drive Ghidorah away, while they couldn't do that without the help of Mothra in 64. Now, Godzilla and Ebra Horror the Deep was recovering from his battle with King Ghidorah. Godzilla was briefly struggling with Ebra in the fight, as well as first generation Kumonga is considered a powerful opponent to Godzilla, with Kumonga being stronger than Kamacuras, as well as Ghidorah's nuclear plant is is compared to that of a supernova. Now, you could say that this statement isn't exactly solar system, as he's building up to it, but this would already be somewhat consistent especially from when we get into the later scalings, including Zone Fighter and all of that. Now, Godzilla is the only monster that's able to defeat Ghidorah, who's considered one of Godzilla's strongest opponents up to that point. So Godzilla would already be individually stronger than Rodan, Mothra, Kumanga, Kamacuras, and everybody from before, but probably not Ghidorah. Now, we also have the fact that Godzilla battles Ghidorah. When Godzilla battles Ghidorah, he barely wins the fight, with him being injured to the point of being on his last legs. As well as Ghidorah powered up by eating pollution and evolved in his encounters to a four-legged life form that is no match for Godzilla, to a form that nearly killed him, and if not stopped, he would eventually eat in the Earth. So this is kind of just more planetary stuff. And even after his death, a second Ghidorah appeared, and if Ghidorah himself is rehydrated after he dries out, he will become even more powerful than he was first shown. Now, Ghidorah's acid body is so powerful that even when Godzilla is still healing his hand even a year later. So Ghidorah should at least have some type of Duraneg, or I guess not Duraneg. You know what I mean. Second generation Anguirus backslams are also even so powerful that even second generation Ghidorah retreats from it, with second gen Anguirus being able to power through Gigan's head laser. And second generation King Ghidorah was implied to be nerfed because the mind control on him was poor and was unable to use his full strength. Now, Showa Gigan is considered one of the strongest monsters to have appeared in the movie with Godzilla vs. Gigan, and is a formidable opponent to Godzilla at the time, with second generation King Ghidorah being badly wounded by Godzilla and Anguirus. Now, Gigan is the first monster to make Godzilla bleed, and does so with both his hammer hands and his universal cutter, aka his buzzsaw. And a year later, Gigan returned with Megalon. However, even teaming up against Godzilla, Gigan was still weak compared to himself, and Megalon is no match for Godzilla, and Godzilla 1v2s them and smacks both without the use of his atomic breath. So likely you can say that he was holding back. Now, Megalon is also the strongest monster that Godzilla's faced before, so Megalon would be above everybody up to that point, even surpassing second generation King Ghidorah. And Megalon's laser beast killer ray can instantly turn a large city into a burnt field, which is already a pretty big lowball, but is, nice to have. Now, King Ghidorah in Zone Fighter was the strongest force the Gargoyles ever sent, and his most powerful enemy. This would make Ghidorah stronger than things before, such as the missiles used to destroy planet Peaceland, which are calculated between small star and large star. It would also make Ghidorah more powerful than monsters such as Splyer, who would have destroyed Earth, and Dorora, a fourth dimensional monster that could shroud areas with a fourth dimensional net. Now you can already say that this would be Universal Plus. However, just going off of them being 4D is not exactly enough to get you into Universal Plus, as it would just be high dimensional existence. However, we also have the statement that Dolora has the ability to confine separation to time and space of the fourth dimension, and is powerful enough to trap the enemy in a time space called Hot. So he basically creates a separate time space verbatim from the normal universe that Showa exists in. So it should just be a baseline four-dimensional feat, since he can just, create an entirely new space-time dimension. Now, along with we have the fact that there is multiple segments of 4D dimensional universes that are infinitely expanding, and also the fact that MechaGodzilla is stronger than King Ghidorah and Ghidorah. And now this would be just second generation King Ghidorah. As stated, second generation Ghidorah is inferior to the first generation Ghidorah that Godzilla fought. Now, Showa Godzilla is also stated repeatedly to be the most powerful monster on Earth, with MechaGodzilla being designed after the strongest monster on Earth, aka Godzilla. This is considered Godzilla's strongest opponent up to that point until destroyed monsters in the timeline, which takes place in 1999. Now, he's also the first monster that Godzilla needed to gain a power-up against mid-fight. And after drawing against MechaGodzilla, Godzilla recovered and powered him up with lightning, and is able to use a magnetic power that powers through MechaGodzilla's kinetic energy. Force. Now, Godzilla's atomic breath does little to no damage to MechaGodzilla, and MechaGodzilla and Godzilla Tiny Beam Clash, so they should be at least equal in terms of AP. Now, MechaGodzilla is 10 times stronger than King Caesar, as he's able to tank his beam reflected back at him 10 times stronger. As well as the fact that MechaGodzilla 2 is stronger than MechaGodzilla first appeared, with Titanosaurus not even being able to match with Showa Godzilla underwater. So, but on land, he would lose. Now, MechaGodzilla's finger missiles were 5 times more powerful than before, and his armor was modified to counter Godzilla's heat rays. His other weapons were gradually enhanced as well. So that would mean that MechaGodzilla is should at least be 10 times stronger than he originally was last year. Well, in terms of timeline terms. And now Godzilla was just able to blow a hole right through MechaGodzilla's armor, which showed Godzilla's atomic breath gradually become more powerful over the years and has a radius about the size of a baseball stadium. Now, Showa Godzilla's atomic breath also comes from a hydrogen bomb energy that fills his entire body, and it is highly destructive, which is capable of vaporizing its target, and a weapon that no other can match. So, and also in a what-if battle between Anguirus, Gorosaurus, Baragon, and Varon, they are all implied to be somewhat relative to each other, having one advantage over the other, and Goro can win the fight if he lands his kangaroo kick like he did to King Ghidorah, and destroy all monsters. Now, first generation Showa King Ghidorah is stated repeatedly to be the strongest, most powerful, and having the combined destruction power of every monster in the Showa era. So, this would put him above the likes of Godzilla, MechaGodzilla, Gigan, Megalon, everybody there. As well as the fact that King Ghidorah's power is so overwhelming that even Godzilla admires his strength. As well as the fact that King Ghidorah has a force that Godzilla cannot match, and his gravity beams are the strongest weapons in the universe. And as stated earlier on in the video, Godzilla can match at least one. Now, Godzilla, Anguirus, and Gorosaurus did the most damage to first generation King Ghidorah at the end to destroy all monsters, with Godzilla burning King Ghidorah with his atomic breath, Anguirus making him bleed with a bite to the neck, and Gorosaurus seemingly breaking his back with a kangaroo kick. Now, it's also stated by Teruyoshi Nakano that Godzilla's opponents had to be stronger than the King of the Monsters himself. So, that's already, keeping the scaling consistent with Ghidorah being above Showa Godzilla. Now, the battle at Mount Fuji and Destroy All Monsters was able to shake the earth, and Godzilla's family is under control of all the monsters on Earth, with all of them being great warriors and continuously getting stronger, and Ghidorah's family, aka the monsters from space, if they all came together, could possibly surpass the ones on Earth. Now, King Ghidorah is also considered Godzilla's #1 rival. So, overall, Ghidorah would be above Godzilla, but Godzilla would be above everybody else. Especially with the Destroy All Monsters taking place last in the timeline, Godzilla would just continuously grow stronger, especially his atomic breath. So, overall, we also... Oh, I don't know how I forgot this. But we also have statements that Showa MechaGodzilla was built inside of a black hole. And with him being built inside of a black hole, this would already be solar system level. And now, not only is the solar system... You also have the fact that the black holes are stated to be the trap of the universe, so you can possibly upscale them to Universal Plus, as they would upscale everything within the universe's cosmology, which would contain the 4D dimensions. So you can possibly make a case for them being a Universal Plus. However, if you don't want to go with that, they can be solar. However, you can bump them up to, the same ones that Heisei Godzilla tanks with one cell, which would be multi-galaxy level. And you might be wondering why. Well, Heisei Godzilla is an alternate timeline of the Showa era, so the black hole should function and work the same. So, if one cell of Heisei tanks a black hole, which is multi-galaxy, and it's the same black holes within the same cosmology, just in a different timeline, it should theoretically scale to Showa Godzilla. And now, another note I would like to add is that you can argue Showa upscales off of Marvel Godzilla due to Marvel being an alternate timeline. However, there are no direct statements for it. And also, Marvel Godzilla scaling is pretty iffy and something I haven't really dug into pretty deeply. Now, I know you guys might be thinking that Universal Plus is a little bit flimsy, since all we have is Ghidorah creating a separate space-time and being a 4D monster. But we also have statements that if Showa Gigan were to, that some Showa Kaiju can fight against, other Heisei Kaiju, like Showa Gigan can fight Biollante, Rodan can fight Heisei Mothra, Megalon can fight Larva Batra, and Showa MechaGodzilla can fight Mecha King Ghidorah. And you might be asking why this matters, even if the simulation says that they will lose. Well, that's because Heisei Kaiju like Godzilla and Heisei Ghidorah are able to scale to the 4D dimensions due to having a super dimensional battle. However, it's also stated that Showa Ghidorah's gravity beams are also similar to Space Godzilla's super gravity. So, you can in turn say that this is at least a baseline 4D that all Showa Kaiju scale to, since if he uses, you know, super gravity, that's at least a baseline 4D. Now, you can argue 5th dimensional due to them upscaling, you know, the 4D dimensions. However, it's not really consistent, since that's really the only thing that gets them to 5D, besides downscaling off a Heisei Kaiju, which is still kind of flimsy even then. But other than that, from mid to late Showa, you would get anywhere from Solar System all the way up to Universal Plus at a highball. And if you really want to go higher, you can get up to 5D with Super Gravity and downscaling off of Heisei Kaiju. Now, I know this video might be a little bit shorter. However, I would like to tease the next video. And that next video is going to be Godzilla in Hell's finale, aka the final scaling that I have been given permission to use. We will be going over everything that I left out in the previous part and that I teased in the first part. So be tuned to stick around for that, which I will probably post sometime later this weekend. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Spread the video around. Showa Godzilla usually gets downplayed a lot, like below legendary and stuff like that, still to this day. So I want to make sure that, you know, his scaling gets around. But as always, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.